Now, section 7.4, class relationships. I'll also explain this keyword here. Class relationships. Classes in a software system can have various types of relationships to each other. There are 3 relationships in Java. These are dependencies, aggregation, and inheritance. Dependencies means class A uses class B. Aggregation means class A has a class B. And inheritance means class A is a class B. Okay, I'll explain dependency and aggregation here, and inheritance is a topic in chapter 9. A dependency exists when one class relies on another in some way, usually by invoking methods of the other. Okay, by invoking the methods of the other. It is not that difficult. You will understand easily, okay, when you see the code. We don't want numerous or complex dependencies among classes. It is very confusing, okay? Nor do we want complex classes that don't depend on others. Okay, so if we don't depend on other classes, then one class should be very big. Okay, that is not also good. A good design strikes the right balance. Okay, so we need balance among classes. This is an example of dependency. Here, there is a class data. It has one private member data, constructor, and 2 methods like this. Okay, add and toString method. And in class data test, this is the driver class, right? Because it has main and it will use data object. In main, 2 objects are created, M and N. And this is just print out, so there's nothing. And see here. And see here, in the parentheses, the parameter, in the parentheses, the parameter is an object, right? N is an object. So, object will be passed to the method. Then this method m.add, this add method will be executed. Okay? So, we can think that this method depends on this object, right? So actually this is the dependency of data test depends on this data, right? So you can see easily dependency by looking at the parameter of a method. Okay, so in this method, using this object, this method it do something. Okay, this method does something. Okay, so this is the dependency. So here, a method of a class may accept an object of the same class as a parameter. Okay, so in this case, we say that there is a dependency. Now aggregation. An aggregate is an object that is made up of other objects. Okay, so class has another object, okay, as its attribute. Okay, so therefore aggregation is has a relationship, like car has a chassis, something like that. Okay, so an aggregate object contains the references to other objects as instance data. Okay, you will understand it easily if you see the code. So this is a special kind of dependency. The aggregate relies on the objects that compose it. Okay, so if you don't understand this one, then I will show you 3 classes. So here, the student object will be composed of address objects. Okay, so inside the student class, address object is included. Okay, so let's see the code. UML diagram first. So this is the student class. The student class has names, first name and last name. And here, the student object has home address and school address. And each address is created by address class. See that? So home address or school address are also objects. Okay? The student object has address object. Okay? This is the aggregation relationship. And this means aggregate. Okay? Dependency. This shows dependency. Actually, aggregation is also another form of dependency. Okay? So this is an address class. Okay? And this is the driver class to use student class. Okay? So driver class usually have main method. Okay? So now let's see the code. Let's see student code. Student class has 4 attributes. 2 are string objects, first name, last name, and 2 are address objects. Okay, so I'll show you address class in the next page. So home address and school address are 2 attributes of student class, and this is a constructor. So 4 attributes will be assigned using these parameters. Okay, so these parameters will be assigned to attributes. Okay, and this is a toString method. toString method just for print out result, right? Okay, and this is the address class. Address class has street address, city and state, and zip code. Okay, so there are 4 attributes. So address class only just for the address. Okay, so it has 4 attributes, and then in the constructor they are initialized, and this is also toString method. Very simple class. Okay, I just want to show that address class objects are included in student object. It is an aggregation relationship. Okay. This is the student body. There is a main method, and main method will show you how to create a student object. So at first, I want to create a student object to John. Okay. So John should have 2 address, home address and school address. So at first make 2 address objects for John's school and John's home. Okay, so create 2 address object, street name, city and state and the zip code. Okay, and after making these 2 address objects, we create a student object John. Okay, so John has first name, last name, and home address and school address. Okay, this is aggregation. Okay, this is aggregation. And Marsha, I think Marsha goes to the same school, so this time only Marsha's home address is created. And then Marsha, John's first name, last name, and home address and school address. Okay, so we create 2 student object, and then just print out the object. So the address of John will be printed out. Okay, so his name and home address and the school address. After enter, skip one line, and then print out Marsha's information. Okay, name, home address, and school address. Okay, this is pretty simple code. I just want to show you that what aggregate means between classes. Okay, so the student class has address object. That is the aggregation. Now I will explain this keyword. I think many of you know this keyword because this keyword is the same in this keyword in C++ language. And actually there are many students who used this keyword in their homework. But anyway, I will explain this keyword in Java. Okay. Actually, we have two uses of this keyword. One for this reference, and the other is for constructor. Okay. So at first, I will explain about this reference. So this reference allows an object to refer itself. Okay, refer itself. That is, this reference used inside the method. Usually, this reference used inside the method refers to the object through which the method is being executed. I will explain this with an example. See this one? This is a data class, and this is data test class. It is a driver class. It has main. In the main method, data objects will be created and then used. Okay, so at first let's see data class. It has one attribute and one constructor and one method, try me. Okay, and in the main method, two data objects, obj1 and obj2 are created. Okay, then here, as you see here, obj1 will have its data like this, right? And obj2 also, it has its data like this. Okay, and as you see here, this is a reference. It means that this will point to some object. Okay, this is a pointer. It means that this will have here, this will have address of an object. Okay, so this will point to the object, the address in the reference. Okay, in this reference. So let's see this one. obj1 dot try me. Okay, try me. The method try me can be called by obj1 or by obj2, right? obj1 can call try me, and also obj2 can call try me. Okay, so here obj1 dot try me. Okay, then this time obj is this. Okay, so since obj1 calls try me, at this point, this points to obj1. Okay, so here in this line, this will point to obj1. Okay, then try me will print out my data is obj1 data, right? So my data is 123. Okay, it's printed out. And next, obj2 dot try me is called. Okay, so this is called. This time, this will point to obj2. Okay, at this line, the object wants to use try me is obj2, right? So this time, this does not point to obj1 anymore. Instead, this will point to obj2. Okay, this is this. So you can think like that. There is only one this. Okay, there are only one this, and we can have a lot of objects. Okay, so this will point to one object among a lot of objects. Okay, so this time try me is executed, and my data is, this time the data is obj2 data, right? So my data is 567 is printed out. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, this keyword is very important. This reference can be used to distinguish the instance variable of a class from corresponding method parameters with the same names. Okay, this is very useful. This is very useful situation for using this. Okay, let's see this example. This is a child class. As you see here, child class has two attributes, first name and age. Okay, first name and age. And in the constructor, there are two parameters. Fn, the first parameter Fn will be assigned to first name, and the second parameter A will be assigned to age. Okay, you understand this one? Okay, but in the case, if we use first name instead of Fn, if we use first name instead of Fn, then it is more readable. Okay, it is more readable code. And likewise, if you use age instead of A, then this will be more readable, okay, than just using A. So I changed the code like this. See, I used first name and age, okay. So my purpose doing this is that first name, this first name is from parameter, right? This age from age. Okay, this is my purpose. And this part, this left side of the assignment is from the attribute. Okay, so this is my purpose. But this does not work like that. At this time, computer treats both as parameter first name. Okay, so see, as you see here, I hope the right side of the assignment should be from the parameter, and the left side of the assignment should be from attribute. But it does not work like that, because parameter is a local variable, right? Parameters are local variables, and these are attributes. Okay, so parameters has priority than attributes. Okay, so computer thinks these are all parameters. Okay, so we cannot write like this. Okay, there is no compiler, just it does not work correctly. So we must use this keyword. Okay, this keyword for this. Okay, so here first name is the parameter. Okay, and if you want to mean this is an attribute to first name, then you must have this dot in front of the first name. Okay, this dot means inside the class attribute. Okay, so this dot means this one. Okay, the attribute of an object. This dot age also means attribute of an object. So this age will be here. Okay, so this is very important. This is very important example for using this keyword. Okay, so I prefer this one, then this one. Okay, so you cannot write like this. You cannot. You can write this way or this way. Okay, but this is preferred. This is preferred way. Okay, using this. Okay, here let's see another example. So actually this is a little bit extended example of child class. Child class has two attributes, first name, age, and constructor. Now you understand this. Okay, now you understand this in the constructor. And likewise, print all method. There is a print all method. Inside the print all method, I use this dot first name, this dot age. Okay, you don't have to have this because there is no confusion. In the constructor, there is a confusion if we don't put this. If we don't put this, then this is the attribute first name and this is the parameter first name. There is no way to distinguish it. Okay, so in the constructor you must use this, but in this case in print-all method you don't have to use this keyword, but this is okay. Okay, this is good. Okay, this means that the first name of the object. Okay, the first name of the object. This means like that. This is a very important uses of this keyword. This keyword is used in constructor, actually for constructor overloading. Okay, I think now you know what method overloading. So this time I will explain about this in constructor overloading. Okay, constructor overloading is a concept of having more than one constructor with different parameters list. Okay, constructor with different parameters list in such a way so that each constructor performs a different task. Okay, so let's see this one. If you see the example, you will understand constructor overloading very easily. But I want to show that this keyword is very important here. Okay, this keyword. In class student, there are three attributes: ID, name, and score. ID, name, and score. And as you see here, there are three constructors. Okay, you know that constructor should have the same name with class. So the student constructor, right? There is no return type. There is no return type here. So this is a constructor. And the first constructor has only one parameter, int ID, right? And the second constructor has two parameters. And third constructor has three parameters. Okay? So there are three constructors. And in the main method, I created three objects, S1, S2, S3. At this time, when I create S1, I used the constructor which has that has only one parameter. Okay, then computer sees this. There is only one integer parameter. Then computer says which constructor will be executed at this line. Okay, so it will be determined by the parameters, right? So computer knows that this constructor will be executed in this student 11. Okay, so this object is created. Okay, ID is 11 and there is no name, so null. This is just initialization with null. And the double score, double also does not have any data, so it has 0.0 as its default value. And S2 is created. S2 has two parameters. Okay, two parameters. So the second parameter, second constructor which has two parameters will be called. This will be called. Okay, so S2 is created like this. Okay, and next one, S3. S3 has is created by a constructor that has three parameters. So the last constructor will be called. Okay, and then S3 is created like this. Yeah, this is perfect code. There is nothing wrong here, but it is boring, right? It is boring. Computer does not like repetition. Computer does not like repeat the same line everywhere. Okay, as you see here, this.id is ID. This one, this line. This line appears here. Appears one more time. Okay, and this line name, this line also appear here. Okay, so computer does not like this repetition. So in that case, we can use this keyword. Okay, to make the code simple. I'll show you how we can modify the code to avoid some repeated line. Okay, so here this is the same code. Constructor, second constructor, and third constructor. Okay, so I told you this is very boring code because same line is repeated. Okay, same line is repeated like this. So I modified the second constructor. Okay, first constructor is okay. There is nothing is repeated. Okay, so the first constructor is okay. Then in the second constructor, this dot id is id. This line is just the same as the first constructor, right? So instead of this, I'm going to use this. Okay, this and id is in the parentheses. Okay, so if you see this one, this means that call another constructor. This means that call another constructor that has only one parameter. Okay, one parameter. Okay, since id is integer, actually it means that in this line, call another constructor that has one integer parameter. Okay, so this constructor will be called automatically here. Okay, at this line, the first constructor will be called. Okay, and this is the third one. Originally, third one looks like this. Okay, third one looks like this, and I told you this green part is repeated. Okay, repeated from the second constructor. So in the third constructor, instead of these two lines, I can write like this. Then it means that in this line, at this line, call another constructor. This means that like that. Okay, this means another constructor in the same class. Okay, another constructor which has id, integer id, and string parameters. Okay, so call another constructor that has integer and string parameters, two string parameters. Then at this line, this second constructor is called automatically because second constructor has id, integer id, and string parameters, right? So instead of writing like this, we can use this keyword. Okay, we can use this keyword. Okay, is it clear? I think this is the same as C++, so I think many of you already know this. And for someone who learn this one for the first time today, then please use constructor. Inside the constructor, please use this keyword to call another constructor. Okay, so only you need to be careful is about the parameter part. Okay, parameter part is very important.